Hey guys, it's Mike from Combat Republic. This is our debut video for the Combat Republic YouTube channel. I want to thank you guys for liking, sharing, and subscribing, and thank you for following me and following our website. We have grown a lot in the last year. It was just kind of something that I just did on a whim. I created my own website, so I'm really thankful for the following that we have, and for everybody that helps out with the site. I want to thank Chuck and JD and Joe and Mike, Gaspar, and all the people, Justin Nipper, all the people that have contributed to the site over the last year. And now that's going to evolve. Not only are we going to continue to write articles, opinion articles, we'll do a little bit of aggregate news where we take some stories that are being posted from the more prominent websites and then just kind of give our opinions on it. Not my favorite thing to do, but it helps to feed traffic to what we really like to do, which is our opinion pieces. We really do enjoy those. So anyway, thank you for being a part of this ride with us. So the first thing that I want to talk about is last night's Impact. And for those of you that have followed our site, you've noticed that Impact is one of the main focuses of the website. It's not the focus. We do cover all of pro wrestling. We're not really heavily focused on WWE. We don't do a lot of WWE content, and the reason for that is, and it's nothing against them, is that everybody's already doing that. And so we wanted to use our site as a platform to give some credence to and to focus on some of those other shows that maybe other people aren't focusing on. I've always felt that the Impact fan base has been very underserved. Now, guys like Meltzer and Mike Johnson and those guys, they do watch it and they do cover it, but it really seems like they're only doing it because they have to. It doesn't seem like they enjoy the show very much, and it's not really been a focus on their platforms. And so I wanted to make that one of our main focuses. We're also going to talk a lot of MLW, some AEW, despite the fact that that's very popular everywhere else on every website that's being covered, but I do watch that a lot, so I will talk about it. And then, of course, the UFC. I think I'm going to have a video out tomorrow talking about Conor McGregor and Dustin Poirier. But today's video, we're going to focus in on Impact. So last night's Impact was a quality 2-hour episode. It was one of the best episodes of Impact in a long time, and we got to see the return of Matt Hardy, the return of James Storm, the debut of Private Party, and then we also got to see the Impact Zone debut of the evil villain Tony Khan, who was sitting ringside during the main event with a big shit-eating grin on his face, taking notes during the main event. We also got to see the return of Jerry Lynn, who was a legendary figure in Impact lore, who back in the old TNA days, in the original Nashville days, was one of the top stars there. He was a multiple-time X Division champion. I think he held the tag team titles for a little bit. He was a major star in ECW, which was one of my favorite promotions from my teenage years. I really loved Jerry Lynn's series of matches with Rob Van Dam. So that was really cool to see him on the show last night. So let's get to Tony Khan. So I thought he was great on the show. A lot of people hate the guy. I honestly don't know how you could personally hate Tony Khan, especially after the amount of jobs he's given to people, the amount of breaks he's given to people, so a lot of the careers that he's helped along the way, a lot of the career resurgences that people have seen under his watch. I mean, look, what was Tully Blanchard doing for a long time? What was Jake the Snake Roberts doing for a long time until AEW was created? They've really exposed us to a lot of new talent that maybe not a lot of us had ever seen or heard from before. And then, of course, they're bringing back a lot of our old favorites that maybe some of us grew up watching, or maybe even our parents and our grandparents were watching. If you could say a bad word about Tony Khan after the episode of AEW Dynamite that they did in honor of Brody Lee and what he did for that family, you really have to do some soul searching if you're going to say anything bad about that guy. So, but his character on the show, Impact, is a complete shithead, and I love it. I love his stupid grin. I love his little notepad. I love how he takes shots at Impact. I think that's funny. He's busting balls. I would like to see Impact give him a receipt every now and then, maybe have their own zingers and their own comebacks, but they haven't as of yet. I do think that's coming though, so stay tuned for that. But anyway, the show started off a little slow. It had Eric Young versus Rhino, and then a beatdown afterwards. And then following that, they had the Good Brothers come out, and they were interrupted by Chris Sabin, and then James Storm returned, and then they made the challenge. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, Matt Hardy's music hits, and he comes out with Private Party. I would have reversed those two segments. I would have had that segment start the show off first. And typically, I'm a bigger fan of a match, a hot match starting the show off. But that segment was hot. No, they really should have kicked it off at that point. I think if they would have kicked off the show at that segment, the Twitch numbers would have been through the roof from the beginning of the show. But we'll see what the ratings are later today, and I will maybe I'll do another video just talking about the ratings, like a quick 5-minute. Which basically led to the main event. Where we had Chris Sabin and James Storm versus Private Party. Really, really good TV main event match. Private Party they're very green, they're very new. I've seen them have some good matches before, but they were against very seasoned people like the Young Bucks. Young Bucks can make anybody look good right now. And but they need more ring time, and I think that's going to be the important thing about this relationship between Impact and AEW. And that's Impact's not going to be a feeder system for AEW. That's not going to happen. But it's going to be more like the situation with WWF and ECW. If you guys remember, or if you weren't even around back then, WWF would send some of their guys that they weren't using, or some of their guys that they had under contract that needed more ring time, more seasoning, more interview time, more promo time, just more time on television. And he would send them to ECW and say, Paul, can you get these guys over for me? And Paul would get them over. And specifically, Al Snow was one of those guys. He was a WWF guy. He was Leaf Cassidy, and then they sent him down to ECW. He just went by he went by Al Snow, which was his name before that. Created this ridiculous head gimmick, got it over, had some good matches with the likes of Shane Douglas and others. And then came up to WWF in late '98, and was hugely popular. Similar situation happened with Just Incredible. He was in WWF. They sent him down to ECW. He became Just Incredible, and he became a big star there. And there were a lot of other instances. I think the way, if this relationship between the two companies is going to work, yeah, you're going to have to see the big stars going back and forth a little bit, but you don't want to do that too much. You want it to be special. But I think AEW sending some of their young and talent that needs seasoning, that needs ring time, needs promo time, sending them to Impact and to work with veteran stars like Chris Sabin and James Storm, to work with the Good Brothers, which they will be doing soon. They're going to be going for the tag team titles. I think that's going to benefit both companies right there. Speaking of that, it looks like Kenny Omega is taking a hiatus from Impact. Some people were worried about that. They don't think he's coming back. They think that shitty Wrestling Inc. article was true. It was not true. That was not a one-off. If you look at the logo for Impact Rebellion, there's an Omega symbol down at the bottom. Omega's headlining that pay-per-view. And he is going to be a fixture in Impact going forward, but I think it's wise for AEW and for Impact to limit the interaction between them. He doesn't need to be on every episode. It needs to remain special. Kind of like what Brock Lesnar did for a while in WWE. He doesn't need to be on every week. I think you give him a couple months off and then bring him back for the build to Rebellion. I think that's smart. And then AEW has a pay-per-view next month. And he's going to be likely, I don't know this for a fact, he's probably going to be wrestling Jon Moxley at AEW Revolution next month. So I think that he should just focus on AEW right now, get through that title match, maybe mid-March, come back to Impact, and then start the road to Rebellion. Other cool things on the show, I like that they finally ended that dog shit comedy bullshit that they were doing with the Who Shot Bravo. It started out funny with the wedding, and then everything that they've ever done ever since has been terrible. They ended it. Turns out it was Taya, which I think a lot of us saw coming. Taya then got arrested, and she's either going to go to, which I thought was very clever by Tommy Dreamer. She's going to go to Stanford Penitentiary, Jacksonville State, or maybe even Baltimore State. And so basically her contract's up. I think it's been up for a little bit. Who knows what the real dates on it are, but we've all kind of saw it coming that she's going to be leaving. This is the way that they wrote her off the show. She's been a great talent for Impact. She was a great Knockouts champion, and I thought that her character work in the last year has just been fantastic. Personally, I think AEW needs her more. I think they could use some talented women on that roster. But her husband, John Morrison, actually works for WWE, so I could see her going there. And she's tailor-made for WWE. Are they going to screw her up? Probably. That's what they do. But she'll be getting some good money, so good for her. I hope it all works out for her. Other than that, there wasn't really anything too significant on the show, other than the AEW stuff and then writing off Taya. But they did make an announcement for next week. I think Joe Doring versus Cousin Jake, or Jake something is what I like to call him. That's his indie name. I'm really looking forward to that. That has the potential to be very good, if they let it. Now, if they're just going to wrestle for 2 minutes and have interferences, it's like, why even bother? Why even have the match? But if they allow that match to be good, it can be good, if that makes sense. Because those two are two talented big men, two hosses going at it. Which if you follow me, you understand that that's a personal favorite of mine. So, as far as a ratings prediction, I'm not very sure. I think that's going to come out here in the next couple of hours or so. So maybe I'll do a follow up. Depends on my schedule. As you can tell, I'm at work right now. This is my lunch break. I'm getting ready to call it quits and head home and grab a sandwich and come back and finish the rest of my work day. But again, thank you to everybody who's liked and subscribed. And one other thing. Sorry. One other thing I wanted to add. Impact was so good last night that a friend of mine reached out, a guy who doesn't watch Impact. And I talk to a lot of people who don't watch Impact. Because I was one of those people for a long time. I just didn't. From 2013 to 2018, I just didn't watch. It would come on rarely, or I would put it on the TV rarely, seldomly. If something big happened, I would check it out. If there was a match people on the internet said I need to watch, I would go watch it. But for the most part, it wasn't part of my regular viewing. And this guy has been that way for a long time. And he reached out to me when Kenny Omega debuted, and because he didn't know how to watch it. He doesn't know what Twitch is. He doesn't have AXS TV. So he reached out to me. I showed him how to do it, and then he ended up watching, and he liked Omega's segment, didn't like anything else. But he had free time last night. He actually watched, and then he reached out to me again. And he said, I'm probably not going to miss another show for a very long time. He goes, that was a fantastic episode. And part of that was because of the upgrade in the announce crew and the crowd noise, and then the limited interferences that they're doing. Or they're doing interferences still, and that's never going to go away. That's pro wrestling. But every match doesn't have to have that. That should be the exception, not the rule. And we saw that at Genesis, we saw that at Hard to Kill, and then we saw it again last night. So I think things are looking up for Impact. I'm anxiously awaiting the ratings for today. I'm hoping that there is an increase over last week, and then get into that top 100 again for those guys. I think that's good for them. That's good for wrestling, good for AEW, and obviously good for Impact. So. And I just got an update on my phone. So Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful Select has reported that James Storm is not signed. He is just working the tapings. He's kind of on a freelance deal. Same thing, same situation with Matt Cardona. Matt Cardona is not signed to an exclusive deal here. But, I mean, they think enough of him to sell his T-shirt and to book him for now. And maybe they'll have a contract down the road. And I'll talk about Matt Cardona on the podcast later this week with BQ. Me and BQ are going to get back together. We're going to do an episode of the Impact Republic, and so we'll be talking about James Storm and Matt Cardona. But anyway, please like, share, subscribe, and let me know what you think. Hit me up with any topics you want me to cover. These videos are going to be short and sweet. Until next time, take care.